Hello friends, welcome to a new topic today. In this chapter we are going to learn about the opioids. It is in the substance abuse disorder psychiatry topic. We are going to learn about opioids. So what are these opioids? Opioids are the chemical substances which are derived from the opium plant. What is opium plant? Opium plant is nothing but Papaver somniferum, or also called as poppy plant. Okay, this is Papaver somniferum or poppy plant. So from the opium we have the following things which were derived. One, we call it as morphine. Second, heroin. Okay, morphine, heroin are derived from opioids. And heroin, what is heroin? Also called as, heroin is nothing but D-acetyl morphine, and it is also called as smack or brown sugar. Heroin is D-acetyl morphine, also called as smack or brown sugar. This heroin is actually the most abused opioid, most commonly abused opioid. Actually, what is the most commonly abused substance in India? According to AIIMS 2019, the most commonly abused substance in India is alcohol. What is the most commonly abused illicit substance in India? The most commonly abused illicit substance in India is cannabis. So what is the most common abused opioid in India? Most commonly abused opioid in India is heroin. So this heroin is more lipid soluble when compared to morphine, and it has rapid onset of action. It is used along with other adulterants like starch, quinine, chalk powder, paracetamol, or talcum powder. So how are we going to administer these opioids? These opioids are administered in the following routes of administration. So if you see the route of administration, they can be administered either as oral route or IV route or subcutaneous route. They can be administered either oral or IV or subcutaneous route, or they can be snorted nasally. So if they are snorted, then we call it as something called as chasing dragon. Okay, if the person snorts it, that is called as chasing dragon. See, because it can be given in the IV route, so first the patient starts injecting into the peripheral veins like ulnar radius, the person starts injecting into the cephalic vein, basilic vein, okay, peripheral veins which you can see also, okay, and later slowly he goes into the larger veins, okay, and slowly he even starts injecting into the central veins like internal jugular vein, okay. So he starts injecting into the central veins, and this changing of peripheral veins to central veins, we call it as mainlining. Okay, sometimes the patient cannot find veins at the end. At the end, when the person cannot find any veins in his body, then he starts injecting into the skin itself. That is called as skin popping. This he does whenever he does not find any veins. Then once you have seen the routes of administration, then when do you call it as intoxication? Okay, we call this as intoxication. Here, once he takes the drugs, then he gets feeling of euphoria, warmth, and heaviness of extremities. There is facial flushing which is seen, and there is something called as nodding off is also seen. What is this nodding off? So nodding off is the presence of initial euphoria followed by periods of sedation. Whenever there is initial euphoria followed by periods of sedation, then that is called as nodding off. Okay, then what are the symptoms of opioid overdose? So think that where there is opioid overdose, if there is opioid overdose, what are the symptoms? So whenever there is opioid overdose, there are symptoms of respiratory depression, slow respiration, hypothermia, hypotension, bradycardia, pinpoint pupils, cyanosis. All these are seen initially, then they will progress to coma. And sometimes one can also see withdrawal symptoms. So these withdrawal symptoms include, because these are mainly because the person after taking, see, he has started the um, you know okay, so these withdrawal symptoms occur after the last dose, that is after stopping the drug. Think that he has stopped the drug, then the withdrawal symptoms start, and these withdrawal symptoms start to peak by second to third day. By second to third day, these withdrawal symptoms will peak, and they will subside completely by 7th to 10th day. Okay, so this is why is this happening. This is because of, this mainly occurs because of the rebound noradrenergic activity which occurs due to stopping the drug. See, after a few days of, after not even few days, few hours of stopping the drug, those receptors which were actually used to the drug are now empty, right? And because of that, all the receptors starts to fire, and there is hyperactivity of noradrenaline. Noradrenaline, which is released from the body, starts, and it excites the receptors, and that will result in this rebound activity, which is withdrawal symptoms. Okay, then next, what are the withdrawal symptoms? We are talking about withdrawal symptoms, right? So what are the withdrawal symptoms? What withdrawal symptoms do you see in opioid therapy, in opioid withdrawal? In opioid withdrawal, you see flu-like syndrome, lacrimation, rhinorrhea, sweating, diarrhea. You will also see yawning or piloerection. You see pupillary dilatation, muscle cramps, broad body aches, insomnia, anxiety, tachycardia or hypertension, nausea, vomiting, and anorexia. So all these are the things which you see in withdrawal symptoms. Then how are you going to treat it? The treatment is, in this we have two things. One, we will have to first detoxify the drug, and once you have detoxified it, second, you have to prevent the relapse, or you will have to give maintenance therapy. Okay, these two are the things which you definitely have to do. So first, in the detoxification, what do you do in the detoxification? Detoxification, there are three ways by which you will do detoxification. One, no drugs, that is you won't use any drugs to detoxify it. It is just by therapeutic community, by providing proper environment in such a way that the patient will be urged to remove his habit, is urged to remove his habit. So that is no drugs. This no drugs is community therapeutic community. Okay, this is also called as cold turkey. But the main important thing which you have to do in detoxification is the pharmacotherapy. In the pharmacotherapy, the best way to prevent opioid abuse, or to detoxify him, is by substitution. In the substitution, we can use opioid. This opioid is substituted with long acting opioid, like for example this opioid or morphine, or instead of taking morphine or heroin, they were substituted with long acting opioid, which give the same pleasure that normally this morphine or heroin gives. So the long acting opioids which were used here are methadone or buprenorphine. Okay, so this methadone is used as in the world, that is called as methadone maintenance clinic. The methadone used in the world is called as methadone maintenance clinic, or we also have buprenorphine, which is used in maintenance in India, and that clinic is called as buprenorphine maintenance clinic in India. Okay, so both these, the principle of both this buprenorphine or methadone maintenance clinic is to the principle is harm reduction. This is to decrease the harm by substituting with normal opioids, okay, which are long acting and they are less harmful. So we can also use other drugs like propoxyphene, dexpropoxyphene, but in India we mostly use methadone or buprenorphine. Then what about the symptomatic treatment? You will also have to give symptomatic treatment. The symptomatic treatment which should be given in, which is given in this for opioid withdrawal include, we will have to give NSAIDs, loperamide or clonidine. Okay, clonidine is an alpha 2 agonist which decreases the sympathetic drive and thus decreases withdrawal reaction. So all these are the three ways by which detoxification is done. One, you can do substitution therapy. Second, you can do symptomatic therapy, and drugs. No drugs therapy, that is by community trial. Okay, so these are the different things which you do for detoxification. Then after detoxification, next there is relapse prevention or maintenance. So for relapse prevention or maintenance, you use opioid antagonists. So which opioid antagonist do you use for relapse prevention and maintenance? We can use naltrexone is the drug of choice for relapse prevention and maintenance. Half life of naltrexone is 96 hours. You can also use non-pharmacological approaches can also be used, and these include cognitive brain therapy and narcotic anonymous, that is 12-step help groups are present. Okay, now whenever there is overdose of opioid, what is the drug that should be given if there is any overdose of opioid? If there is overdose of opioid, then the drug of choice for overdose of opioid is naloxone. Remember, for relapse prevention, the drug of choice is naltrexone, but for preventing the overdose of opioid, the drug used is naloxone. Okay, this is also an opioid antagonist, but here the thing is, this drug is short acting. The half life is only for half an hour. That is the reason why we use naloxone for overdose of opioid, whereas we use naltrexone for maintenance therapy or to prevent relapses because of his longer half-life. Here in this opioid therapy, the tolerance does not develop meiosis or constipation or convulsions. The next drug which we will have to see is about cannabis. Okay, so where is this cannabis? This cannabis is derived from the plant which is Cannabis sativa. This Cannabis sativa is the most common illicit drug used in India. Okay, this cannabis is also called as joints, weed or marijuana. This is called as joints, weed, marijuana or grass or pot. These are the different names which is given for cannabis. What is the active ingredient in cannabis? Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol is the active drug which is used in cannabis. Okay, there are many preparations of cannabis. The cannabis from dried leaves, we call it as bunk. Cannabis of inflorescence, that is ganja. Cannabis from resinous exudate. Cannabis resinous exudate, we call it as hashish or cheras. If the lipid soluble plant extract of this plant is called as hash oil. Okay, so these are the different preparations which are available. These can be injected either orally but most commonly these are smoked. Okay, we have dried leaves of cannabis are called as bunk. Inflorescence are called as ganja. Resinous exudate of cannabis is called as hashish or cheras. Lipid soluble plant extract is called as hash oil. These are unsuitable for IV administration. Why are they not used for IV administration? Because they are poorly soluble in water and there is risk of anaphylaxis increases if used as IV. Then what are the symptoms of intoxication? So the symptoms of intoxication include euphoria, subjective sense of slowing of time, and there will be sense of flowing in air. Reddening of conjunctiva, depersonalization or derealization. We have in intoxication, we have euphoria, subjective sense of slowing of time, sense of floating in air, reddening of conjunctiva, depersonalization or derealization, synesthesias, increased appetite or dryness of mouth. There is also feeling of restless, fearful, anxious, feeling of restlessness, fearful and anxious, that is called as bad trip. So these are the different symptoms of intoxication. The patient also develops withdrawal symptoms, and these withdrawal symptoms develop within 1 to 2 weeks, and these include insomnia, anxiety, decreased appetite and irritability. Okay, what are the different disorders which occur due to cannabis? The disorders that are seen due to cannabis include cannabis induced psychotic disorder, also called as hemp sensitivity. In cannabis induced psychotic disorder, you can see deliriums and hallucinations which are developing. Then we have cannabis induced anxiety disorder. In this, the patient develops anxious and anxiety disorders. There will be flashback phenomenon also. In flashback phenomenon, there will be recurrence of cannabis use experience in the absence of its use. See, this is flashback phenomenon, okay, are seen. Then there is something called as running amok. In this, the patient develops rage and he goes and hurts and kills others. That is called as running amok. Then we have something called as amotivational syndrome. This amotivational syndrome is unwillingness to perform a task. The patient does not have any motivation to perform a task and he becomes lethargic and apathic. That is amotivational syndrome. So what is the treatment? Treatment has withdrawal symptoms, mild symptoms. If there are any withdrawal symptoms, if they are mild, no treatment is required. But if they are severe withdrawal symptoms, then you can use benzodiazepines. Okay, so this is about the cannabis. Then the next group of drugs is about hallucinogens. So in the hallucinogens, if you see, there are many hallucinogens which are used as drugs. These include LSD, which is lysergic acid diethylamine, ketamine, mescaline, psilocybin, methylene dioxyamphetamine, that is NMDA, or ecstasy, phencyclidine or angel dust. So in this, the first drug is lysergic acid diethylamine, that is LSD. So what do you see in this LSD? In this LSD, if you see the patient, what are the we'll have to see the intoxicating symptoms and withdrawal symptoms mainly. So what are the intoxicating symptoms you see, and what are the withdrawal symptoms you see? These are important, right? So intoxication symptoms which you see in LSD are depersonalization, derealization, synesthesia is most common in LSD, and there will be psychotic symptoms like illusions and hallucinations. And you will also see autonomic hyperactivity, that includes tachycardia, sweating, palpitations, tremors and mydriasis. The patient also develops restlessness and fearful, that is panic attack is seen. Because of this panic attack, the person becomes extremely agitated, and here you will have to treat the person with benzodiazepines, should be useful for the treatment of this condition, this extreme agitation. And you will also have to use antipsychotics for the treatment. Remember, this lysergic acid is always associated with this phenomenon called as flashback phenomenons are seen. Then if you see withdrawal symptoms, that is there are no physical dependence and no withdrawal symptoms are seen. Treatment is psychotherapeutic therapy should be given here to this patients. Then once you have learned about lysergic acid, the next drug here is about stimulants. So in the stimulants, the first drug which we have to learn is cocaine. So this cocaine is actually derived from Erythroxylum coca. Cocaine is derived from a plant which is Erythroxylum coca, and Sigmund Freud studied the pharmacological effects of this cocaine. Initially, this cocaine is used as a local anesthetic, okay, and later it is started to use as local anesthetic, especially in eye, nose and throat surgery. Okay, then what is the mechanism of action of cocaine? Cocaine will increase the choline action, leading to attention hormone. It increases the dopamine, thus causing kick hormone. It increases the serotonin and noradrenergic activity, that is happy hormone. Okay, this is the most common substance abused which is associated with seizures. The most common abused substance which is associated with seizures is cocaine more than amphetamine. So what does the cocaine cause? Cocaine causes vasoconstriction of peripheral arteries. Because of this vasoconstriction of peripheral arteries, it increases the risk of hypertension. It also causes vasoconstriction of epicardial coronary artery, and thus it causes ischemic myocardial injury. Then, which route it is used? This cocaine is mainly you inhaled or snorted. Cocaine is mainly inhaled or snorted, so it has vasoconstrictive properties leading to nasal congestion, and later it might progress to nasal septal perforation. Then cocaine is also smoking. We can also use it is snorted and it is also smoked, and for smoking this cocaine is added with some adulterants, and that is called as cocaine, street cocaine. And to this street cocaine, a free base, that is chemically extract of pure cocaine, to this we add some adulterates, and this results in formation of street cocaine. Okay, so there is something called as speedball. What is speedball? Speedball is cocaine plus heroin if we add together, and that is called as speedball. Speedball is cocaine plus heroin is called as speedball. Cocaine plus heroin is called as speedball. Then we have crack. What is crack? Crack is free base from cocaine which is smoked is called as crack. Crack is free base form of cocaine which is smoked is crack. So long term use of cocaine leads to a side effect which is called as jet black pigmentation of the tongue. Because of long term use of cocaine, it causes jet black pigmentation of the tongue. This cocaine causes extreme craving. That is one use. If you just use one use can cause intense craving. Okay, then what are the intoxicating effects of cocaine? Cocaine it causes acute attacks which include paranoid hallucinations, delusions, auditory hallucinations and illusions. Cocaine bugs or formications or Magnan syndrome is also seen. There will be euphoria, pupillary dilatation, and severe features of tachycardia and hypertensive sweating are seen. And because of this tachycardia, hypertensive sweating, treatment should be done in coronary care units, because whenever there is vasoconstriction of arteries, there is increased risk of hypertension and also coronary ischemic heart disease, and as a result treatment should be done in coronary care unit in cocaine. And those are intoxication, whenever there is intoxication. Then what are the symptoms of withdrawal? The symptoms of withdrawal include this cocaine has strong psychological dependence. It has strong psychological dependence and it has mild physiological dependence. So because of that the patient starts feeling low, exhaustion, lethargy and fatigue. Then what are the most severe withdrawal symptoms of cocaine? The most common severe withdrawal symptom of cocaine include depression. Most severe withdrawal symptom of cocaine is depression and suicidal ideations. Okay, there is something which is important in cocaine which is called as cocaine induced psychotic disorder. This cocaine induced psychotic disorder is most common in those patients who take IV or crack users. This shows paranoid delusion, which is delusion of persecution. Here auditory hallucinations are seen and cocaine bugs are seen. Treatment is, if the withdrawal symptoms are mild, there is no treatment is required, but if there is long term treatment includes amantadine and bromocriptine are the drugs which are used. In long term treatment you should use amantadine and bromocriptine. So this is about the cocaine. Then the next substance which is abused here is amphetamine. So amphetamine is also, it also includes dextroamphetamine and methamphetamine. So long term if you see, amphetamine induced psychotic disorder is seen, which includes paranoid delusion or delusion of persecution and auditory hallucinations. Then we have tobacco. The next substance abused substance is tobacco. So this tobacco has active the tobacco, the main thing is tobacco increases choline and also increases dopamine. Okay, in this tobacco we have, there is increased choline and increased dopamine. The active ingredient in tobacco is nicotine is the active ingredient in tobacco. Okay, so this tobacco, this nicotine causes cardiovascular disorder, and this nicotine also has stimulant action, and thus it improves attention, learning, reaction time, and problem solving ability. And that is the reason why many, youngsters are being um, are actually using tobacco or abusing tobacco. Next, what are the withdrawal symptoms? Withdrawal symptoms usually develops in 2 hours and they peak in 24 to 48 hours. In this, there will be craving, irritability, anxiety, difficulty in concentrating, bradycardia. The patient develops drowsiness, and there is paradoxical trouble sleeping. The patient also develops increased appetite and weight gain. Okay, so what about next? The treatment is pharmacotherapy. So what do you see in the pharmacotherapy? In the treatment you have pharmacotherapy is important. So in the pharmacotherapy we can give nicotine replacement therapy is available, which includes the nicotine. Instead of the patient smoking, he can use nicotine gums or nicotine lozenges, nicotine patches, or nicotine inhalers or sprays which have the same function as that of smoking. Okay, but the drug which is most commonly used is bupropion, which is the first line drug, and this bupropion is used for 12 weeks. This bupropion is actually noradrenergic dopamine reuptake inhibitor. Okay, how are you going to start this bupropion? This bupropion is started with the dose of 0.5 milligram per day OD, which is followed by later the dose has been increased to 0.5 milligrams BD, and after that this dose has been increased to 1 milligram BD, and like that you continue this dose for 12 weeks. Okay, the next drug which is also used for smoking cessation is varenicline. This varenicline, it acts on 7 nicotinic acetylcholine receptor, and this varenicline is a partial agonist on alpha 4 beta 2 receptor. Okay, so this is about the tobacco or uh, okay, this is about tobacco. So this is about the substance abuse disorders. Thank you guys for watching my lecture. In the next class we will learn about the next topic. Thank you.